Hello there! Today I'm going to talk about harvest rites. In Neogermanic paganism there are 3 traditional harvest holidays. As far as it's possible, I'm going to talk about the rites and which holiday they belong to, but some rites are celebrated either on one holiday or another. I'm going to come to that later. The 3 harvest holidays mark the beginning, the middle and the end of the harvest season. They have different rites considering the role they play of beginning of the harvest and end of harvest, for example, where it mixes up with winter rites. All modern societies are based on agricultural societies, so there are a lot of intermixes, there are a lot of similarities to harvest traditions in other cultures. The harvest holidays are considered holidays with unbloody sacrifices, which means that there are traditionally no animal sacrifices or blood sacrifices made. It's a big difference to the preparing of the fields in spring, where, for example, pork blood is spread, so you have a very good harvest later on, or preparing the fields for a good harvest later on. Reason for this is that the harvest celebrations were celebrations everybody could make, where everybody could make sacrifices. As I already said, it's based on our society, and a long time ago almost everybody had fields behind their houses, even if it wasn't crop and it was just fruit, but everybody had something they could sacrifice, food that would allow them to survive winter. So they sacrificed what they had for a good harvest season and for a good survival in winter. The first holiday is on 1st of August. It's the Lammas festival. It's the beginning of the harvest season. The celebrations connected with this holiday are very similar to the second holiday, the fall equinox, just because some pagans celebrate only one of these harvest holidays, some celebrate both. So you got different rites, different celebrations. The first holiday marks the first harvest, and traditionally the crop of the first harvest is baked into breads, in which in former times people made pictures of gods or holy symbols, and they ate it. As everybody already gathered for the harvest, it was a big celebration. Family was there to bring in the crop, to bring in the harvest, and afterwards to have a good harvest for the ongoing season until last harvest was possible. They sacrificed so the gods would bless them. Families sat together. It was a very loud, very joyful celebration, quite similar to summer solstice, as everybody was already together and hard work ended in hard celebration or very happy and cheerful celebration. Not only bread was sacrificed, everything made of crop, for example, as I already said, bread, beer, which is also made of crop, was sacrificed, and another sacrifice is apples. This is a sacrifice which is very popular in the eastern parts of Europe and which has a lot of traditions. Apple pies were baked. It's a tradition that holds until today and which spread throughout the continents, everywhere where Europeans settled. The gods this first holiday is connected to, as the apples already indicate, is Odin, the goddess which keeps the apples that give the gods eternal youth. And these apples are also very popular in Wicca. As it is a natural religion, of course, other pagan religions are quite similar. And apples, if you cut them open, Wicca celebrate that the core of the apple looks a little bit like a pentagram. It was also introduced into pop culture, so this is something that's very well known actually. Another very traditional thing is the hanging of these Celtic wheels of year. These hang even in churches nowadays, which is quite odd because they are made of straw. As the Beltane or summer solstice, these wheels are usually made of wood, and for the harvest holidays they are made of straw and they are hung from the ceiling so you can put offerings on them. most popular are apples. They're quite similar to the wheels which are made of other trees for winter holidays, green trees all year. These wheels with the offerings are very, very popular, especially in Germany. You can see them almost everywhere in public buildings, sometimes even in churches, even though they are really a definitely pagan symbol. Christianity has quite different harvest traditions, and the holidays in Christianity are beginning in middle October. The second holiday is the equinox. It's mainly on 21st or 22nd of September, depending on the sun cycle. This year I think it's on 22nd of September. And many rituals are similar to those of the Lammas holiday. As I already said, some pagans only celebrate one of them. Lammas and the third holiday, Son, are moon holidays, whereas the equinox, as it already says, is a sun holiday and one of the four main holidays of Asatru. And as some Asatru only celebrate the four sun holidays, they celebrate equinox as the harvest holidays. At the day of the equinox, sun and moon, or day and night, are at the same length, and this holiday marks the middle of the harvest season, where blessings and offerings are said and brought so the season can go on as good as it already started, as to bring in even more crop to make sure everybody survives winter. The third holiday is Dawn, or Ancestors' Day. Nowadays it is more known under its popular name of Halloween, which is the Christianized version of this holiday and which doesn't have much in common with the original holiday. Here the end of the harvest season was marked, and it was also the end of summer or fall and the beginning of winter, so a lot of winter traditions merged with the harvest traditions. Some pagans celebrate Ancestors' Day separately from the third harvest holiday, but most celebrate together. I will come to that later. The last harvest brought in, and here there's not so much crop, it's more the last fruits like, well, yeah, from the USA, pumpkins, modern harvest held even in Germany. They can be harvested even at that late at the year. Apples are very important, which are winter fruit. They have an important role in this last harvest holiday, and it always depends on the weather of how late the last harvest is, but traditionally this day just established as the main holiday. As on this day not only harvest is celebrated but also the ancestors, the dead, are invited for dinner. It's quite similar to the Mexican Dia de los Muertos, and the dinner table has a separate plate for the dead. You invite your ancestors, you prepare them foods, and offerings are brought to the ancestors first. It's not like offering the gods first, it's the ancestors first on this day. That's a very big difference. There are other gods that are called as on the other holidays. You have the gods related to death, Odin, Freyr and Hel, and these gods are not quite invocated, but they're connected with the holiday. As I already said, the ancestors receive the offerings. The Celtic holiday, which has merged with the Germanic holiday, says that on this day the portals of the world are open and it's easier to have contact with your ancestors. In Germanic neo-paganism, some people have very good connections to their ancestors, so they have contact in everyday life. They don't need this separate day. As I already said, some celebrate these holidays differently. They celebrate them middle of October, so they have the harvest holiday end October, and at the middle of November they celebrate Ancestors' Day. And this Ancestors' Day until today is kind of translated into modern society. In Germany we have 2 weekends in November where we remind of the dead, we remind of the fallen soldiers, and they are national holidays. Halloween celebrations, I don't have to talk about them. I think the Celtic can explain that a lot better where these rites come from. But as the Celts settled in continental Europe and the cultures merged, it's hard to tell them apart, as all of these harvest traditions, as I already said, some days merge and some traditions are celebrated on different days depending on the region people live in or how it developed over the years.